Francis Ngannou versus Ciryl Gane. Main event that was super competitive for the heavyweight title. We'll go over what actually happened in that main event and the entire card. Also, we'll give you guys some ideas of what to potentially see next for these guys. Some possible opponents. Smash that like button, guys. Show some love. If you're new, subscribe and turn those post notifications on. I want to jump right into this Francis Ngannou versus Ciryl Gane fight. It was a very interesting one because for the first time, you really saw a guy in Ciryl Gane who was able to outstrike Francis, at least with the kicks. Boxing to boxing, Francis did have a couple shots that he was able to land, but nothing super significant and clean. Reason being, Ciryl was more fighting off the back foot. He's not just pressing Ngannou. When Ngannou does his best striking work, sometimes is when I guess his opponents come forward. But I mean, then he fights Jairzinho Rozenstruik and he sprints at him and knocks him out in 20 seconds. Ngannou was tested on the feet. But what he showed is an improved wrestling game. He's an overall mixed martial artist now. He has that freak frame. This guy can just pick you up and throw you. The way he slammed Ciryl Gane was incredible. He has insane natural physical strength. That fight was competitive. Gane looked good early. First round was really close. I think definitely. Second round, Ciryl Gane. And then 3, 4, 5, you see the wrestling from Ngannou. You know what surprised me, though? Ciryl Gane in that last round did land a takedown, but little mistakes that he was making on the floor, shooting for the heel hook, shooting again for it, falling back for it, rather than using that to retain dominant position. And then he's really going hard for those heel hooks that I don't think were even there. Unfortunately for, I guess, Ngannou, really fortunately for Gane, Ngannou's ground game as far as ground and pound top game isn't fantastic. And you know what? Gane was able to escape as Ngannou would try to unload really any offense. So it was a lot of control, better wrestling, good top control, but not effective ground and pound necessarily. Some peppering shots landed. Ciryl survived the 5. Something we would have never thought is Ngannou winning a decision. So many people were against Ngannou. I picked him to win this fight. I still believed in him. Now, did I expect him to just go out there and out-wrestle Ciryl Gane? Not really. I don't think anybody in the world did. But it shows Extreme Couture has improved Francis's game, and he now has a legit wrestling base. Back in the day, that was a question mark. Now, people need to be wary of Ngannou's wrestling. Ciryl Gane especially was never tested on the floor. I can't think of a fight we've seen him on his back. It never happened until Francis Ngannou. He's not bad off his back. There's little things he needs to work on. I mean, what's he been doing in MMA? 3 years? I'll tell you this. I predict Ciryl Gane will eventually hold the world title as long as he's able to sharpen up those holes. Potentially him and Ngannou in a rematch in the future. I don't think anybody would not want to see it. Granted, yes, that fight that we had, which was their first fight, I think the first of a series potentially, isn't an absolute war barn burner, especially after Moreno Figueiredo was craziness. It still was a good technical fight that Ngannou showed he is a complete mixed martial artist now, not just the only one-punch guy. He's not Derek Lewis. People have compared him to Derek Lewis. He's not Derek Lewis. There's a big difference between Ngannou and Derek Lewis. Ngannou is a complete mixed martial artist. Defends the belt. So now we look towards who's maybe next for him. And a name that jumps out immediately, John Jones posted on Twitter. We know it's John Jones. Francis Ngannou versus John Jones. If we're talking mixed martial arts, that's the fight to make. Where things get murky is Ngannou having interest in boxing. Does he potentially fight Tyson Fury or Deontay Wilder? Maybe even Anthony Joshua? I don't know for certain. I don't think he fares well in those matchups. He's an MMA fighter. He's not a pure boxer. But the opportunity, you have to give it to the guy. He defends the belt in the heavyweight division. But as an MMA fighter and as an MMA fan, follower, and analyst, I want to see Ngannou fight John Jones to determine the best. This is the biggest moment in combat sports. The longest reigning champion in the light heavyweight division, dominating everybody in his path. The guy that most consider the greatest of all time has one loss on the record, and it's a disqualification, essentially undefeated. Regardless of what you think about his last bout with Reyes, he's still all-time great status. And take away the drug testing, debacle, whatever, when he gets in the cage, his performance is all-time great status. And Ngannou is the scariest guy to ever have done it, especially now. He's going to fight a guy who brings the wrestling game. You can't fall back on it. But I don't think he'd necessarily need to against John Jones either, because the striking will be a significant threat against John Jones. Ciryl's striking is extremely high level. I'm telling you, man, I see Ciryl Gane as a future problem. The matchup I have to lay towards is a potential Curtis Blades fight. I think that makes a lot of sense for Ciryl Gane. That would be a difficult test. A wrestler that's going to try and take you down. Cyryl's going to be ready for it potentially this next time. I would like to see that matchup. I think that's potentially next for Ciryl. I feel like it's definitely going to be determined by potentially who is available and how much time Ciryl needs off. I do want to bring up the UFC heavyweight rankings real quick, just so I can get an idea, right, of who is the potential fight that I really want to see. Francis Ngannou's won. Ciryl Gane was interim. Alexander Volkov, Ciryl already beat. Stipe Miocic may be in the mix. I wouldn't hate a Stipe Miocic-Ciryl Gane fight, but I don't think Stipe would want to take it. I think he'd struggle there. If Tom Aspinall is able to beat Alexander Volkov, that could also be the fight. So there are some matches on the horizon. For Francis, it's John Jones or it's professional boxing at the highest level. Fantastic fight in the main event. As far as technique goes, of course, not an absolute barn burner, crazy matchup, but it was a damn good fight, and I enjoyed the hell out of it. Francis Ngannou wins, defends the belt. Smash the likes if you guys haven't, and let's jump to the co-main event. It was another fantastic bout. This one was like an absolute war type fight that you remember. It was a battle, and Deiveson Figueiredo improved. He touched upon every single hole that was in the first fight. The calf kick was on fire. That is the way to beat Brandon Moreno. He was able to do it. Scary enough, going in later to the fight, the live lines had Moreno as the favorite. I was getting nervous, man, that we might see a potential robbery. People saying it was 2-2 heading into the final. Figueiredo got hit by some shots, but he definitely landed the more powerful strikes. He sent Moreno down twice with punches. He also beat him down with the calf kicks. Wrestling was competitive on both sides. I feel like we're in a weird spot, right? Because Deiveson Figueiredo beats Moreno for the first time. 1-1-1 against each other. Do we do the fourth fight? 4 in a row against one another. That's nuts. I think you got to do it in Mexico City. I think you have to do an immediate rematch. It's just one of those fights. It's a spot that it has to happen. I want to see it again. Let's go for it a second time. I think we'll go Deiveson Figueiredo, Brandon Moreno 3. There were moments for Moreno. There were things that I liked for him a lot. I mean, he's able to land good punches with his boxing. If he can, I guess, sharpen up the leg kick defense of the calf, which is not easy to do. Justin Gaethje, I saw him show a technique how he believes you're supposed to block that calf kick out. Going to be hard to do with Figueiredo, especially if Figueiredo still carrying the speed, having the stamina. Moreno did finish strong late. Beautiful flurries at the end. Not enough to win the fight. 3-2, unanimous decision. Figueiredo gets the belt back. And I think you got to do a fourth time. He said, let's go again. He's down for it. So I think make it. The first fight, super competitive, ends in a draw. Second fight, Moreno runs over Figueiredo. Third fight, super competitive, but Deiveson Figueiredo, throughout most of it, led the dance. Something interesting to note here, I do want to bring up the stats. One thing to note, the strikes were heavily in the favor of Brandon Moreno, but we had takedowns on the opposite side, more so by Deiveson Figueiredo. I feel like it was more power strikes landed for Figueiredo. Yes, significant strikes still, 105-86, but I really feel like the power edge, the devastating calf kicks, the knockdowns all favored Figueiredo. I thought he deserved the win. Fair decision there, and I think we got to go for it a fourth time. We'll see if they do it. Fantastic co-main event for these two, and I guess they got to go again. That's really how I feel about this one. Great fight. Absolute battle. Both savages, and Moreno's gas tank crazy. Figueiredo well improved, training with Henry Cejudo. Best decision he could have ever made is jumping to that team with Henry Cejudo, revolutionizing his wrestling, getting in the best shape ever, and genius game planning. Henry Cejudo's team, man, geniuses. Michel Pereira versus Andre Fialho. This was a fun fight where Fialho looked like he was going to beat Pereira in the first round. He beat him down in the first. Pereira turned it up, second and third, able to start taking over, landing effective strikes, explosive movements, chaotic attacks. Fialho's a scrapper and dangerous, though. I got to say, great UFC signing. I think he has a bright future here. He'll have a lot of competitive matchups. He's a high-level striker. Chaos Williams struggled against Pereira. Fialho had more success than him. I was really impressed by Fialho. Taking the fight on short notice and giving a hell of a performance over 3 rounds, regardless of him getting like a bit hurt towards the end, he looked great. And he had Pereira in bad positions. I was super impressed by the striking game. Fialho's a beast. He has real knockout power. These guys are in interesting spots because Fialho too far back for me to really give him like a specific opponent. As far as Michel Pereira, I could see them working towards giving him a top 15 guy. I like the Robbie Lawler fight idea. That's a matchup that I think would be a lot of fun. I think that's potentially the fight to do. Give him the ultimate test now because he's passed the last four-fight winning streak for him. I think he's deserving a potential ranked guy. I know Robbie's not ranked, but he's like a super name here. If you're looking at the rankings, the welterweight division, let me see if any name like jumps out at the bit. I guess Muslim Salikov rescheduling is also possible. Santiago Ponzinibbio, I guess, is another maybe, but I don't know if that would be likely. We'll see for Pereira, but I like Robbie Lawler. I think that's a fun idea, and that could be a hell of a fight. Fialho definitely will be back. Fight prior to that, Said Nurmagomedov easily beats Cody Stamann. Okay, guys, we need to keep our eye on Said Nurmagomedov because he is a monster. He has great grappling skills, was able to choke out Stamann. This is a guy that's gone distance with Jimmy Rivera, Merab Dvalishvili, and Said easily taps him out, landed great strikes. The stand-up game's off the charts. I told you guys, it is going to be a spectacle to watch, and it absolutely was. Said Nurmagomedov is the guy to keep an eye on. And he's also 5'8", pretty good height for the weight class. As far as his next bout, he beat a guy that was not in the official rankings, but had fights in the rankings. Do you jump him up to like a Song Yadong level fight? I'm not necessarily opposed. There's other guys that could potentially be on the list there. Rafael Assunção, Casey O'Neill. Casey O'Neill, wrong name. What is the name? I'm sorry, man. The name's escaping me right now. I'm going to have to look this up because it's totally unreal to be escaped by the name. Song Yadong's last opponent that he was able to beat, I think, could be another potential matchup that could be worked towards maybe for Said Nurmagomedov. I guess I don't know how much they want to jump. Casey Kenny, that's the name I was looking for. I don't know how much they want to jump him up. He could fight the winner of Marlon Moraes Yadong if they really want to fly him up the rankings. If they want to keep him on the lower end, there's guys outside the rankings that we could potentially do, but I think Said is ready for the big show, and I'm telling you, keep your eye on Said. Unfortunate loss for Stamann. I still think he's in the UFC, even though he's on a 3-fight losing streak. Unfortunate, though. Quick loss. Michael Morales overcame adversity, dropped, taken down, but he gets the knockout win over Trevin Giles. Michael Morales is a prospect, a real prospect. One that I'll be keeping my eye on. He's 22. I get this special feeling that this guy's got a really bright future in the UFC. Needs to sharpen some things up. He's new. You know, beating Trevin Giles in one round, but he did show some weaknesses. And those better wrestlers will take advantage. I feel like as long as he can tighten up the range striking skills, because that's going to be an advantage over most guys, and really get a little bit more effective with your offensive judo and your wrestling defense, he's a golden prospect. He's 22. He's so young in the fight game. And I really feel like Michael Morales right now, 13-0 in the UFC, bright future. I see him as a contender later on. Even if it's not in the next 3 years and he takes a couple losses along the way, I really think this kid eventually develops the tools to be like top level in that welterweight division. He's a special kid, and I'm telling you, he's got a very bright future in the UFC. Trevin Giles is not a bad fighter. Got too crazy, too wild, didn't respect the power coming at him, and he gets knocked out. That's what happens when you get crazy out there. You get caught in situations, and unfortunately, he gets put flat to sleep. I mean, granted, he wasn't flat out, but he got dropped. He got a little ground and pounded. People were disappointed about the stoppage. I think it was fair. Michael Morales, fantastic win. Let's keep running through the card. The featured prelim, huge upset. Huge upset. Plus 380 was more than that. It was like plus 400 at some sites. Barcelos loses to Victor Henry, who's a massive underdog, came in having no respect. Like, nobody really thought he had any chance here. And he is able to walk through Barcelos dominantly. The striking game was off the charts. He got hit by a few clean shots for sure, but he had the edge on Barcelos all night long. Barcelos couldn't take him down, couldn't wrestle him. Henry had great moments, landing great shots on the feet. Got a little bit cocky at time, is doing like an Ali shuffle, slipping and sliding confidently, gets caught by a few strikes in that third round, tightened it up, and got some effective offense off. He deserved the win. Victor Henry, congrats, coming into the UFC on short notice, 22-5, 34. Like, he's at the point where it's now or never. This guy is a bantamweight to watch as well. The bantamweight division has savages, and Barcelos has a win over Said Nurmagomedov, crazy enough. But I just feel like Victor Henry stylistically matched up well. Has Barcelos also lost the steps since taking his first loss in the UFC? Now he loses another fight at 34. I don't see Barcelos as a title challenger, but I think Victor Henry has a fun rise. Barcelos on the opposite end, not really, as I said, not really a title challenger. Victor Henry, I don't want to write him off. I want to give him all the benefit of the doubt. So good luck to him. I don't know who the future matchups are. I think that he's a fun fight for anybody, especially now beating Barcelos. He deserves at least a respectable name. So good fight for Victor Henry on short notice too. I mean, granted, at this point they knew about the matchup for an extra amount of time, but still, great performance. Della, Maddalena versus Pete Rodriguez. Listen, Pete Rodriguez took this fight on real short notice. He's a savage for that. He came out hard, trying to scrap. It reminded me a bit of Mike Perry. The straight punches ate him alive. His nose gets crushed, snapped, leaking blood. Della Maddalena made him a twin because Della, that nose is crooked. He's a savage. I love the boxing. What we saw was fantastic. Beautiful straight to finish it off. Della looked awesome. He deserved everything in that matchup, and he got a great win. It was just a whitewash domination, first-round knockout, absolutely sweet knockout. It was a great fight. Rodriguez went down. You knew he was like, I'm done. And then little ground and pound. They stopped the fight, thankfully. Della Maddalena, great performance, huge win. Deserves to be a guy that we keep an eye on and respect. He's on a roll now. I mean, he's 1-0 in the UFC, but he won in the Contender Series, and he looked really good. I'm telling you, I'm excited for this kid. I don't know a specific fight that they're going to give him, especially like it's hard for me to pick matchups for guys ranked in the back end, but I think Della Maddalena has some fun fights on the horizon. I am very excited for him. Pete Rodriguez, I don't think we should cut him. Let's keep him around. Let's give him another go. Short notice. He's a savage for taking it. Tony Gravely, Saimon Oliveira. Gravely runs into trouble with Saimon. Nearly submitted. That neck, as I mentioned, if you leave that neck out, we talked about on the breakdown, if he gets cocky, if he gets careless, he's going to get into some trouble. He did get into some trouble, still survived, didn't get submitted. I was glad for Gravely. Out-wrestles and controls the pace most of the fight over Saimon Oliveira, but Oliveira didn't quit. He went for it. He kept going. He kept shooting for the neck. Oliveira's wrestling was just not there, and he wasn't able to keep Gravely off of him. Didn't have enough sting behind his shots either. Tony Gravely made it a hell of a fight in a scrap, too, though it was not a bad one. Very heavy wrestling base, great takedowns. Tony Gravely, well-deserved unanimous decision, beats the debuting Oliveira, who came off the Contender Series. Those Contender Series guys are starting to get a roll, getting some wins coming into the UFC, but a lot of them do lose the first fight. Oliveira, unfortunate, another victim of that, but great win for Tony Gravely, who also was a pretty strong favorite. Matt Frevola, the steamroller, and Genaro Valdéz. This was a barn burner. And it was Frevola destroying Valdéz, but there's no quit in this man. Even towards the end, as he's getting mounted, grounded, pounded, he's all over his back. Like, Frevola's all over this man. Genaro was still going. He kept getting up from positions. He's dropped. He was dropped so many times. I got to pull the stats up. How many times was he knocked down? It's something I need to know now. So we're going to find out. It was significant strikes, 60-10. Knockdowns, takedowns. Let's see. We don't have a knockdown count here? Let's see if we can find the knockdown count. Don't have a knockdown count. I don't get it. Okay, they do. No, 4 knockdowns. 4 knockdowns. There's 4 clean knockdowns. Frevola ran over this man. Don't get me wrong, but shit, no quit in Valdéz. Tough Mexican fighter. All the Mexicans on that team lost, unfortunately, on the card. But it is what it is. The Ecuadorian gets the win, Michael Morales, who's a part of that same team with Moreno, Juárez, and Valdéz. Frevola ran through him. He steamrolled him. Shout out at the nickname, the Steamroller. But Genaro Valdéz, tough as nails, gave it his all. Absolutely amazing fight. I think if you're Valdéz coming forward, you need to learn something from this. When you're hurt, hold. Don't try to bang. He tried to Chris Lieben it. He didn't land that perfect shot on the chin. Frevola ran him over. Great performance, big win. Frevola gets a big bounce back after that devastating loss to Terrence McKinney in the last one in 8 seconds. But great performance coming back. He definitely looked good out there. Vanessa Demopoulos and Silvana Gómez Juárez. That straight dropped Demopoulos. Gómez Juárez made it a fight, hurt her badly, and then she gets on the ground with Demopoulos. And I knew the jiu-jitsu advantage was Demopoulos, especially Juárez having a little bit of thinner, like lankier, long arms. Then boom, the arm's there. Demopoulos shooting for the armbar. It wasn't set up perfectly. She adjusts. Boom, it's locked in. She flips her over, gets the position, and that's it. Quick tapping from Juárez. Fight is over. Demopoulos comes through. Huge win for her. First win in the UFC. She was so happy talking to Joe Rogan. She jumped up in his arms after. That was an awesome moment. Super exciting performance for Demopoulos, coming back for some adversity as well, because she was dropped badly by Juárez. But on the floor, there was the level difference, and it was clear. Demopoulos gets the win, moves to 7-4. Better record by far, I feel like, than 6-4. I like Demopoulos, especially at 115. Fun future. I think she's got some exciting matchups, and she's also a great personality. Seems like just a super cool person. So excited to see more of Vanessa Demopoulos. She runs through Silvana, Gómez, Juárez here. And we started the night off with Jasmine Jasudavicius, big underdog, cashing and beating Kay Hansen. Able to beat her in the wrestling positions. In the clinch, she was stronger. From range, she was better, but the left hook of Hansen was on fire. Didn't land enough, though. Didn't do any significant damage. Jasudavicius had good range management and straight punches. The takedowns were there from the clinch. She was the physically strong girl. I said this, man. I think Kay Hansen does so much better at 115 pounds. She moves to 7-5. Bad record now, but she's better than that record for certain. She needs to drop a weight class, get to 115, and fight these smaller girls. The size differential was obvious, and it was an evident difference. Like, it was clear cut that size made the difference, because Jasudavicius had a good wrestling game. Jasudavicius maybe not as proficient technically, made up for it with the size and strength. She had a clear-cut edge over Kay Hansen. She beat her over the course of the 3 rounds, winning a decision. Hansen didn't quit. She made it a fight. She landed a couple takedowns of her own, but nothing significant. Jasudavicius had a lot more serious moments there. Gets the win. Overall, UFC 270 was an absolute blast. I did the full fight companion for the card. That was great. Full card predictions were good. Record was 9-2, so I was super happy about that, and I was really proud that we got the main event right. Francis Ngannou getting the win. The main event is always the one. I'm like, you got to get that main event right. The prelims, we did great. Everything was good. The only ones we missed were Figueiredo over Moreno, which, fair, totally positive outcome, and Victor Henry over Jaime Barcelos, which I feel like nobody expected Victor Henry to get that win. That man's a savage. So overall, UFC 270, it was a success. It was a lot of fun. I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to smash that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe and turn those post notifications on. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. And also, guys, leave a comment in the chat if you enjoy it. Like, even if you don't got anything to say, just throw a W up in there. Much love, guys, and peace.